Hey everyone, I've turned on the mics. Can you hear me fine? Yeah, should be fine. Okay. So let me start sculpting today, and as usual, I'm Daisuke from Pixologic. I'll be sculpting a Mantis blade model that I'm making, and I did do some design fixes or design adjustments in Photoshop that I can show you. So here's a couple of designs I want to implement today. So I'd like to add a couple of ribbons, like shiny tapes, and I do want to put some nails that are green, and I want to make her look like a more fashion icon. And since we don't really have a lot of neon designs, because it's cyberpunk, why not? And we want to add a couple of designs to it. So I do have this kind of small image on the top, so I can reference this. So yeah, let me just start by making her what do you call those? Sleeves? No. Flaps? Well, we call it flaps then. Okay, so let me start off by making a flap by, I think, yeah, mesh extrude would be fine. And since we don't have any subdivisions on top, we can add this directly. Like this. Maybe a bit more thinner. And we do need to adjust the curves a bit, but it's fine. We don't need spotlight projections. Yeah, something like this. So, oh, thanks. I'm currently adjusting some designs so it looks more cyberpunkish. Well, I'm doing it for Pixologic, so I'm a Pixologic boy, but yeah, it is fun to just be able to sculpt on stream and show you guys any tips and tricks. like me and Paul are usually the guys who are showing things, but like we are both like just having fun, like sculpting. Like we even like sculpt when we're not even paid. We can like we do sculpts at my like our free times. So. Well, if I'm not having fun like doing sculpts, like I'm not gonna like spend my free time like learning new things, right? But it's just fun doing it, so. And also it does like benefit the user bases as well. So if we find like new techniques, like sometimes we like design things and we don't expect things to work in a certain way, like in a good way, and like we accidentally find these kind of like combinations of synergies, and then we sometimes show those on streams, and that's beneficial for the user base. Well, for this pose specific, so if you already have a pose, well, it's hard to like go back to the T pose and then make it a game model. But like, I'm not really making it for a game model. If you're specifically making it for a game model, then you have to make it as a T pose and then retopologize it afterwards. But like, it's not really fun doing T poses, right? So yeah, like if I'm making a character and then if the character is like doing just this, it's boring as heck, right? So like usually I just want to sculpt a character with a pose, and my target is not really doing it for games, so that's the reason why. Usually my problem is like I can do models for games, but like I don't really want to because it's really technical, it's really specific, it's boring for the stream. Like you need to follow a lot of like procedures and stuff. It's not really for me, so. Oh, why don't you speak Japanese then? Sorry, like, I can speak in Japanese or English, but like, I'm sorry, I can't speak Russian. Hey, I would like to request a feature for ZBrushCore Mini. In a feature update, can there be an option to turn on and off sculptures? I sometimes just want to use clay build-up brush without it on. Well, it's not really like designed for like existing users in mind, so it's like mainly targeted towards more for like people who don't have any experience in 3D. So if you already know that you can turn off and on sculptures, it's better for you to like switch to ZBrushCore in that case. But yeah, I would let the developers know. So I don't know if it will be implemented or not, but yeah. Ayo, making a complete reproduction of the Mantis blades or more stylized version? Well, I'm gonna make my twist into the model. Like, currently it's just a rough design. Like, I'm gonna replace it afterwards anyways. So, yeah. Yeah, I know, but like, if people already use a full version and then complain about lack of features, and it's gonna go down the like long rabbit hole, right? It's not meant to be like that. So, is this for printing? No, it's just like casual sculpting. Like, if I like the designs, like I might be able to print it, but like, for now, it's not designed for that. Did I mention any descriptions about 3D prints? Yeah, I sometimes like make like add titles and then forget about things. So I'm a human as well. It could be better. Like, I didn't really like the initial pose, and then like I changed a couple of things down the line, so it might change as well. Never know. Well, you can always use it for like 3D prints if you like it. Like, I make some couple of models, and like sometimes I like the designs. I like decide midway that I want to actually make it a print. I just need to adjust a couple of things. Sorry. Yeah, so if I want to like actually print the models, like I can't really have any like thin, like non-thickness geometries, and I can't really have any like gaps like this, right? Like, you don't really need this kind of like gaps, so I need to fill those in. But those are the usual like suspects. You don't really need to, well, you do need to key the parts, but like, depends on how complex you want the model to be. So if you're actually gonna paint it as well, yeah, it's better to like key the model as well. But for this one, like, if I just want it on a desk, then I don't really need to paint it. Oh, thanks. Oh, one thing I changed after the stream, I did tweak the head a bit. So the eyes are a bit more far apart. But I think this is more natural looking. Like, I didn't really like the head. Like, it didn't look cute. Can instances in ZBrush have subdivisions? What do you mean by instances? Like making instances with nanomesh? Oh, you mean the copy of the button, you mean? Well, it depends. Like, if you assign a nanomesh and then if you apply subdivisions afterwards, then yeah, but you can't really apply dynamic subdivisions on a nanomesh. So, yeah. But, like, the difference between nanomesh and array mesh you can do whatever you want, but if you actually apply the mesh, it will give you an error, so you need to reconstruct the subdivisions afterwards. So there's a bit of like a difference in those. How much time do you need to sculpt a 3D model from scratch to render? Well, it depends. Like, I can take one model from scratch, like starting from a sphere, and then making a model in 8 hours. Like, I did that in the past as well. But if I want to actually spend more time polishing, it's gonna take more time, like 24 hours or 40 hours. And then if I want to actually spend more time actually like polishing it to the point I'm really satisfied with, it's gonna take like a lot more, like 60 hours or 80 hours. And it really depends on the project as well. Like, it's really hard to say definitively that like I can finish some models in certain amount. It's really hard to say that. But usually, like, I can just have 8 hours to get a decent rough shape, and then like 24 hours to get a better shape, and then like 40 to 80 hours depending on the work. Usually that would be my answer, I guess. And there's like you'd need to spend more additional time on like actually making the keys or the splits on the model. For example, you can have your main head straight on your work in symmetry, which has subdivisions. Can you create an instance, place the pose and head on the model, but still work on the main head? Yeah, you can do that. Like, for example, if I have a sphere like this, and then if I use the macro, this is added by default, but if you press create instance subtool and then press yes, then like this is now converted to a nanomesh. So if you go to nanomesh, then if you see the placement, it will just be a plane, right? And then if you edit the mesh like this, like for example, if you have a chin, well, you don't need a green head, like, yeah, like something like this. And then if you go back to the original mesh, and then if you want to like rotate this, right? And then go back to like edit mesh, you can tweak the right hand side so it's symmetry and like left in the center, and at the same time you can edit the thing by going back to the instance and then like changing the scales, for example, like this, but it doesn't change the actual shape on the original mesh. So you can see the change happening on this mesh, right? And then also, if you apply like subdivision levels, you do have a subdivision levels until like you like go back and forth between the edit mode in nanomesh, and if you go back, there's still like level 3 subdivisions, right? But if you actually confirm the nanomesh by like going back to the mesh and then pressing 1 to mesh, it doesn't have subdivisions at the end. So you can tweak these settings, and then you can export as a separate like tool or separate OBJ file, and then keep that like original mesh as the subdivided mesh or pre-subdivided mesh, and then like keep that as the base if you wanted to, but like you can't really store or keep the subdivision levels with nanomesh. So it depends. Like if you finalize it at the end because you have multiple you have multiple copies, you can't really like keep the subdivisions at that point, right? Can the 1-2 mesh have reconstructed subdivisions? Well, it depends. Like if you don't have any like triangles on your models, then yeah, you can reconstruct the subdivisions. But if you, like for example, I changed the shape of the sphere, so you can't really press reconstruct on this one. So if you have all the topology as a square and you don't really have any triangles, then yeah, you can reconstruct the subdivisions afterwards. Okay. Alright, so the instance you can pose a character and still work with symmetry. Yeah, you can basically do that, but it does have a couple of like limitations, so bear that in mind. And for example, if you start subdividing and then you can change the model on the edit side. Like for example, if you go back and then like do zero measure, for example, it does change the the edit meshes topology, but it still gets assigned to the polygon it's placed on the scene. So you can see on the right side the mesh is zero meshed, and then on the left side you can see the result of the copy getting updated. So even though if you change the actual like topology of the mesh, you can still keep that like instance on the screen, but like it does get complex. Like it does get complicated if you start doing a lot of things to it. So like I don't know, like I usually don't really recommend using this like face or head rotations. I just usually just use the normal way of doing it, where I just like enable transform and then press use posable symmetry. So posable symmetry is a feature that like if you normally like if you use like symmetry and then like you see the cursor moving in the middle, it's like aligning to the world, right? But if you press use posable symmetry on a symmetrical mesh, it will try to like get the position of the symmetry's position, and then like even though you posed it, like you can like virtually have a symmetrical like point aligning to the like rotated head. I usually recommend this way, and then if you like if you keep the centered model as a separate OBJ and then like load it back, you can actually like position it back. But so like I usually do that method. I can show you a link where I think it was Joseph showing a swapping of the mesh and then like using, I think it was swapping the mesh, yeah. Ask ZBrush T-pose. So this one. So if you use this one, and basically you can use this for a head, you can use this for a like basically anything with the same topological vertex order and stuff like that. You can pretty much use those, and then like keep the base mesh the same, and then like tweak the shape and then update it with the swapping. Like, oh my god, like I'm explaining like my English is not really that good to explain things, but yeah, like Joseph will explain you in the video how to like swap the mesh, and then you can switch back to the T-pose and then update the model and then go back to the T-pose. Go back to the posed model and then going back and forth. It's good for like especially if you are using nanomesh instance for like positioning your head roughly. It works like magic, but like I usually don't really recommend you going into details and like spending hours on sculpting to get the head correct, and then going back from like nanomeshing back and forth. I usually don't recommend it. So. Hello, is there a other way than projectile method to decrease high polygon subtool if ZBrush is crashing because error? Subtool someone destroyed. Perhaps. Huh, that's weird. How about like performing a Dynamesh before you actually use ZBrush? I think you have a couple of like weird meshes somewhere in the mesh. Then you might want to fill those gaps in, or like fill those cavities in. I was wondering if I should add a white line next to the green line. And I'm not sure if it's bright enough as well. Comics, you don't need to pick him up because like he's being a bit trolly. Like he's not really nice. I don't want a difficult day, right? So I always wondered why people like add belts and ribbons on the characters for random reasons, but like if I started adding them, it looks really nice on the illustrations of like the render itself, and like I started to like add them, and then now like I'm addicted to adding things. Yeah, and like for example, like every Final Fantasies like recent releases, they all have like belts and ribbons and stuff, and usually like meaningless ribbons and belts. It's not really functional, but like it looks fancy. but sure looks nice. I think it's the straight lines and the flows and the ribbons which makes it nice, because it looks more natural, like adds more detail as well. Can I make a hair card in ZBrush from scratch, like custom ones? There is a new brush which was added in the recent edition, the 2021.6.3. So if you go down to curve flat, and then if you, for example, let me see. If I go down to the mesh without subdivision levels, then you can create one-sided ribbons like this. So this is added in 2021.6.3. So if you update to the latest version, then yes, you can do it. But you can't really make a custom version of this ribbon, so bear that in mind. You might need to like add more edges if you want some specific after you like place the ribbons. Yeah, it's sometimes handy. Before it was a hack to like actually get the one-sided IMMs, so like it wasn't really a feature, and with the addition of the extrude profiles, then the user were not able to make custom ribbons or like even make one-sided meshes. So we added the brush to like replace those kind of like needs. What's up? Hey. Just having fun sculpting. Haven't been able to sculpt like last week and like in the weekends, so I do want to spend more time on sculpting this week. And I'm pretty much busy the next week as well, so like might as well like have like might as well enjoy the stream while I can like actually spend time sculpt. Oh, I need to split the bottom half. Ooh. Can I texture a haircut in ZBrush? I know more tips in other programs, but I love ZBrush and I think I do everything into ZBrush. If there's like other texture applications that you are using, I think it's better to switch to those as well. But like, you can polypaint them, like you can divide them up and then convert them to textures, and then reapplying with like tweaking them with Photoshop and then sending back to ZBrush. But usually I wouldn't recommend like doing the entire texture workflow in ZBrush. So if you have specific like textures in mind that you want to use, it's better to like use those specific softwares in mind. Oh, thanks. It's still pretty rough. Like I recall like spending a couple of like close to 20 hours now on stream, and now like I should be able to be pretty much done with the sculpt, but like since I'm speaking in my like second language and then doing the sculpts might take more time than expected. Oh yeah, if you want some like rainbow gaming color curve tubes, then yeah, you can, if you enable gradient and then choose like, for example, red and green for some reason, and then like do a stroke, then it's gonna apply this kind of like gradient between green and red. You can tweak those colors to basically anything, and then you can get some rainbow colors. Yeah, this is really nice. Also, if you are using curve snap, it's gonna do the same thing. Yep, this was added in 2021.6.3. You can look into the details with the patch notes. Huh, good idea. Like, I could add gradients to the ribbons I'm gonna add. Let me try 32 dynamic. And then splitting them off. 16? Yeah, 16 should be fine. And then if I switch to picker and then depth and closest. Not what I'm looking for, but yeah, does the job. And then maybe I'll tweak the colors to be a bit more brighter at the end. Yes. Maybe switch some colors. Yes. Yeah. So this is how you do it. Hey, are y'all sculpts? How do you do? Huh? How do you do? Let me sculpt, split this ribbons. Ribbons, split hidden. Yeah, fine. Like, I was gonna talk about sleeps, but I just realized, like, when I get asked about, like, how am I doing, like, I always talk about my sleeps for some reason. Like, came to a sudden realization that I only talk about sleeps. Well, yeah, like I want. Sometimes I want to sleep more. Today, like I didn't really get any sleeps, so thanks. Can you show her eyes? They look different. This. Oh, no, this one is not separated. Usually I separate the eyes, so I just use circles and then retopologize it and then divide it up so I can paint in details. But for this one, I didn't really bother to split it. But usually it will be my go-to for splitting the mesh and then changing the shapes while doing so, and then sometimes I change the positions. Oh, getting hired on a big project? Nice. Get those big bucks. Yeah, so nice to like hear and see a lot of like artists having a like tackling a big project. Jealous. Yeah, make some money. Yes. And hand them to me. Let me divide this up first. Oh yeah, I need to keep the colors. I'll just paint them later on then. Oop. Oh yeah, like I can just project them back from project history. Yes. And then release the history. Yep. Looks fine. I was watching Shane's stream, and I think it was Shane. Yeah, I think it was Shane talking about you being like a beast, like getting better. So I mentioned in the comments saying that like it's like looking at like Jedi Master talking about his apprenticeship. Apprentice, yeah, apprentice. Yeah, Shane is awesome. Like, I usually feel when I see instructors or teachers who has their own class, like teaching things, but when they talk about their students, they don't mention them as students. They think them as an artist on the same level. So yeah, that's a good indication for me to see they are the good instructors or the good teachers in the industry. It's always fascinating to see those kind of like interactions between, oh, me and you are both artists. That's cool. I don't know if I should put a darker tone on the end or a brighter color is just fine. I don't know. Yeah, good teachers are always there to like push the students or the apprentice or the other fellow artists. If they are not even like teachers, good artists will push other artists to move forward. Always feel like that, yeah. Yeah, it does feel like weird for a while, because um like usually you get to call them teachers, and then suddenly you are a fellow artist, like fighting in the battlefield on the same side. uh, I always get like I always think myself as a lesser artist. Like like I think to myself like I can't really teach anything, but at the same time like I'm requested to teach something, and like I usually have a hard time like convincing myself to like push myself to teach something. So I think that's the opposite side when you're like teaching or like telling people to do things. I'm always like questioning myself, like, did I tell the like the right thing or the best thing? And like usually you'll find out soon that there's no best way. Like you can recommend them a couple of ways, but like you're not gonna able to tell them the best way possible, right? So always fascinates me. Hmm. Now I'm starting to think that how is she not gonna how is she not gonna fold and get the ribbons in between these flaps of metal? Mm. Well, I need to reposition the ribbons then. Sometimes it does look fancy, but like sometimes it's not really functional. But if you place it on the other side, it's gonna be fine. Yeah, like teaching is the best way to like learn yourself. It even has a name. It's called rubber duck method. If you even try to like tell your theories or like tell your explanations to a rubber duck, it's gonna be like even better than like just learning to yourself, like reading a textbook. But like if you pretend to like teach to someone else, you understand better, and then you like summarize the like things better before you explain things. Yeah, from the front it doesn't really look different, and that's my kind of like target. And then if I look on the back, it's gonna look a bit different. But I don't want it this straight because it's gonna be really odd. I do need to adjust it a bit. Ooh, NDA stuff. I'm listening. I'm listening. Yeah, like usually you can't really talk in details about like a project or a thing that you're gonna start or you're gonna risk your job. Sorry, I can't really speak Spanish. I think it's Spanish. I was thinking about designing shoes, but like, I don't know. Oh, one thing I forgot. Like I wanted to connect this two in the middle, and having the ribbons go outside of the jacket. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll try my best to make it a bit more better. Is it right front or left front? Should be right. Yeah, right front. Yeah, should be fine. And then ribbons go outside. Currently I'm not, like, I want to replace this ribbons, so it does have some kind of like, a bit more cloth kind of like shape. It's currently just a squiggle right now, so. It's always handy to use topological masking when moving these kind of like separate two parts, which is not connected in the middle, but you have a mesh which is connected in the back. It's usually handy to use topological masking. Have you tried the ZBrushCore Mini challenge yet? Well, I did test the ZBrushCore Mini when it was getting released, but I didn't really touch it afterwards. But like, I was thinking about doing the challenge, but like when I watched the schedule of the stream and then realized that oh, this week was the last week I'm gonna do the English stream. So yeah, maybe I'll do it next week, next week. But like at the same time, like I want to finish this Mantis blade model because I'm doing it for a couple of months already. So like I'm conflicted. So if people want to see the ZBrushCore Mini challenge from me, I think it's better to like take another day and actually do the thing. Oh, we don't want to become famous? Oh. Yeah, it's another spam, oh boy. Report as spam. This account is a bot, yes. Promoting to be famous. Report. Yes, thanks. Thanks, Twitch. Yeah, it's sometimes hard, like when you have like multiple projects running like horizontally. Oh, yeah. Have a good night. Hello. Oh no. Oh. Oh. Huh. What time is Brazil? Close to lunch time? Yeah, like spam is like increasingly becoming pretty annoying. Like we're managing on the Facebook's Pixologic group, and on that side, like the bots are getting a bit more smarter, and then like Facebook is sometimes like I don't know why the reason they change some settings, and then the bots comes into the group and posts something, and we need to delete them, and it keeps coming back, and like I'm not the actual person who's doing the social media side, but like I occasionally check to see if there's a spam, and then there's spam like coming up constantly, and then I delete them, and after a couple of minutes later on, it comes back. I come back to the Facebook page, delete them, and then it comes back again. Boy. They do it for like like they can do it for 24/7, right? But like we're humans, we need to take some rest and sleep as well. And then if I come up in the morning, we have like a couple of spams, and then I need to delete them constantly. So yeah, it increasingly became a headache for us. Especially on Twitch, we see the infamous like the want to become famous spam, and like I'm getting that on my personal stream as well. And usually when I do a couple of hours stream, like it's always coming back like in a couple of like hours or a couple of minutes, and then it's endless. Like if you ban one, and another one comes, and then another one comes, and like yeah, never ending. Yeah, like it became really problematic when you need to consider bots to ban bots. It's really meta, right? Like I don't really trust any like automated system to do the banning. Like you don't really want accidental bans on people who are posting the legit posts or legit comments, right? Then like then it's gonna be humans who are checking the thing constantly. So yeah, I hope we become to a certain point where like in Cyberpunk you have the automated like systems doing the most of the things for you. Like Skippy shooting your legs and stuff like that.おはようございます。今回はね、英語の配信なんで、あまり日本語でのコメントは返せないんですけど、ご視聴いただきありがとうございます。なんか質問あったらね、ぜひ言っていただければ。Sorry, I had a Japanese comment, so I was replying in Japanese. Yeah, it's very meta. Oh, I was going to add some like rings on the legs, so I'm gonna do that. Yeah, it's just saying good morning because Japan is like in the morning right now. It's 7 a.m. You got this, thanks. I really love what I do. Like, I'm able to sculpt and design things. Delete. And delete a couple faces. Delete polygons. Boom. And maybe this one as well. No. Delete. No, I already deleted them. Now I need to... What was my design? Oh yeah. So I need to delete the edge. Nope. Edge loop. Extrude. Extrude like this. And move around. And yeah, something like this. Adding thickness inside. I don't know how much, maybe this is fine. And yeah, I need the exact same thing on the opposite side. So I'm going to duplicate and position it. And then merge it together. I do want to keep some sharpness to it, so maybe adding a crease to polygroups. Oh, I need to add a, well, crease to polygroups is fine, but I need to add a additional line at the end. Something like this, to prevent this side from like curling up too much. We need to deflate, polish. Ooh, too much. Yeah, should be fine then. Yeah, casual Z modeling. Very simple stuff. So I designed the ribbons, I tweaked the center of the jacket. What did I do? Oh yeah, I wanted to add a triangle on the leg. So a triangle shaped something on the leg. So what I'm gonna do is divide this, delete lower, mask, something like this. Oh, I don't need gradient. Make a triangle, group it, delete it. Make something like this, delete the borders, and maybe curved tubes. To have something like this. And then I'm gonna delete the base mesh. Place it somewhere like this. Matchmaker to match the surface like this. And boom. We need a bit more tweaking like this, but yeah, sure, fine. I need to do one for the opposite side as well. We want to use the undo history before I do the matchmaker. Before the matchmaker, this one. And then move it to the other position. Rotate. Matchmaker. Ooh. And then move it around. Something like this. And then I need to combine or merge them, and then paint it at the end. Oh, matchmaker is handy. Like if you have a model with some kind of like thickness, like for example, if you have a cube like this, And then if you want to confine it to a rock, it's going to use that depth information from the front. Now, need a bit of like resolution to it, and then it's gonna try to project the details of the like shape, and then it's gonna match if you move it backwards, and then like you can see what is going on here. So, but like because it's projection based, you just need to be careful where you try to project it. Like, and it's like using the canvas depth information. So if you like position it slightly differently, and then if you do it like something like this, it's not gonna match if you like have a different angle. So be careful of that. But like if you have it in this direction, and then if your screen completely matches, then it should like fit fine. So you just need to be careful about the gizmo position and the camera position. You can do this for logos as well. Like, do I have any examples of logos? Oh, Spotlight, I guess. Okay, so if I go to the Spotlight 3D, and then, like, for example, if I make a mesh from a Z logo like this, and then make a snapshot 3D, it's gonna make a Z-Man logo with thickness, right? And then if I color this black, and then if I want to locate this with Matchmaker, and then let me see where I can place this. Somewhere like this, and then use Matchmaker. Oh, I don't need the colors. And then move it to the position, and then you have the logo matching to the rock. So yeah, that's handy. Oh, where did the triangle go? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I think I would just keep the rock's Z-Man logo here. I do need to refine the rocks, but yeah, it's a good body to have. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, so I added the details, added the triangles, added the hard surface on the leg. What did I miss? Ribbons. Oh, big thing I missed. I wanted to color the hoodie. So let me see if I can mask this area. So it's easy to paint and select. We don't need this side. Yep. So now I need to get the green colors that I want to use as a stripe. Standard. Dynamic 12. 10. Yeah, 10. 10 is fine. I think I was gonna sneeze and it suddenly stopped. Oh no. Like spring is usually my hardest season to live because I have like a bit of like allergic reaction to like I do have a hay fever. So I'm running the like air filters all day, but like it's making me sneeze. Yeah, the sneeze button is broken, buddy. I just need to toggle the bottom. It's like playing Magic the Gathering and then getting a sorcery card instead of an instant card for sneezing. No, you can't cast this spell. I'm not sure if it's kind of symmetrical. No, it's not symmetrical. Yeah, I think I should put some like white stripes as well on the back. Let me see, white. Oh, why is there a hole in this area? $512 mesh, zero mesh. 24. That should be fine. And then I want to add a bit of hair. I always go back to like editing the hairs all the time, like sculpting them, adding them, and then going to another location and then like going back to hair again and then adding more. Bad habits. I think it's better if it's just one go and then being able to like nail it once. And then you don't need to worry about like tweaking them. But it's usually not the case, like you tweak them all the time. Even after like you called it finished, like you still tweak. Hey. Oh, not this one, this one. Hey, welcome to stream. I'll be doing 30 minutes more, so if you missed some parts, you can always check out the archives after the stream. But it will be posted on YouTube. thicker closest. Should I go this way or this way? I think it's this way. You are doing hair, right? I'm kind of like struggling with it right now. Can you give me any tips? Depends on what your approach is to making hair. Usually, like, I just try to keep this separate as much as possible until I want to finish them. So for example, I have my front hair. It's all into one polygroup for each strands, and it's not connected, right? So it's easy to maintain. If I want to tweak something, I can just use the brush auto masking, and then if you go to like topological, if you press this, you're able to like tweak the individual strands instead of like moving the entire hair like this. So this is handy, and unless you're like actually wanting to like finish this, I wouldn't recommend you connecting midway. So I don't really recommend using Dynamesh until the end, or if you got to the certain point that you want to connect the entire mesh. And I think it's better to like think about the curves as well. Like for example, I'm having a couple of like curves. It's a C curve, S curve. Yeah, topological masking is what I use a lot when it comes to dignies. And you can use it on Snakehook as well, like Snakehook plus topological masking. And also, there's one thing that usually people forget is when you use Move Brush or Snakehook, you can also enable backface masking. And what it does is you can change the thickness like this. So usually when you use Snakehook, it's going to move like this, right? But if you enable backface masking, it's only gonna like consider the like changing the thickness. So it just moves to the front. And also, if you switch the backface mask intensity to -100, what it does is you can make it thinner as well. Or you can also press Alt key while doing so. It will flip the backface masking. So you can do this, and then if you want to change the thickness, you can do this as well. So it's handy if you have backface masking 100 for intensity, and then pressing Alt, you can do the thin action, and then you can do the thick action for just moving into the front. Yeah, pretty handy. Another question, how do you approach the dynamic for each hair strand? Dynamic? What do you mean dynamic? Dynamic mean dynamics, or like thinking about how to place them, or like how to like curve them in a correct way? That really depends on what kind of like stuff you're making. Like for me, like I want to think about the curves as, well, this is not a really good curve, but for example, I can show you things. Let me get a pen. Yep. So for example, ignore. If I look from the top and like look at this hair strand over here, it's doing this curve, right? And then the second one would be this kind of curve. And then third one would be this kind of curve. Fourth one would be this kind of curve. So what I'm doing is I'm placing a initial position and then the second position, well, the end position, and having the middle part be like positioned like here, 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 like here. It's like different, but it starts from the same position, but it's like having a clean curve for each strand if I look individually. So if you look at this, it's clean, but it doesn't have any like wobbles, right? But what I'm saying when I say this is not really a clean line, it's like wobbly, it's like twisting, it's going the opposite side as well. So this kind of like complex shape sometimes doesn't work, but like S kind of like shape like this is clean, like it's easy to see, right? Hey. Also, like if you look at the curve for this one, it's like going diagonal and then like getting like wonky at the end. So I want to like clean these up before I go forward. So what I want to do is move this slightly forward, like this. And then it wouldn't look as much like odd compared to the last time. And then maybe I want to change this slightly so I can block face masking and then tweak it like this. And these kind of like hair shapes are usually covered in drawings. So if you go to a drawing community, what they teach you is that you have this kind of like main shape or form, which is the main kind of like curve for this example. And then you have the supporting structure of the curve like this. And then you have one which is going the opposite way, which makes a bit more flow to it. I think it's better to have one more which is more bigger like this, but for me I would want to have two separate shells and then like having the void in the middle. So I would want to move this slightly. to this kind of like shape. The hair placement does require a couple of like experiences. Like you'll get the point after some time. Like after some time, like it feels a bit odd, and then you'll start to see, oh, why is this odd? And then you'll start to see a couple of reasons why it's odd. Yeah, as usual, like as usual. It's fun. Yep. So yeah, I think this curve is better than the last time. And then like you need to rotate and then check in different angles if you have the clean shape from every angle. The difficult part of like getting the 3D hair correctly is like you need to consider about the flow, you need to consider about the angles that you're gonna see, and then you need to think about the thickness as well. Usually people forget about the thickness and then it feels very odd to be a hair with that thickness. And since you're separating, like if you keep it separate and then if you keep it individual, it's easy to like, for example, like tweak the thickness of this individual strands as you go along. But if you connect them in midway, it's going to be harder for you to tweak them. So I usually just recommend people to not connect the hairs until they are happy about the shapes, and then if they want to move forward, they can do that. And usually I don't really like straight kind of like hairs. I want some curls or kind of like flex happening, because for example, if you pluck some hairs from your head, it's naturally like it naturally curls, right? So if this side was connected to your head, it have this kind of like natural curve to it, which goes like this kind of like hook to it. So I usually replicate this kind of like hook slightly on the hair. But if you do it too much, it's gonna be too curly. It's gonna be too aggressive on the curls. So I usually just like I usually just think as a spiral and then stop midway. So if I draw a spiral like this, you can draw a couple of like spirals, right? And then you just need to stop midway somewhere like this, and then use that like kind of like this curvature as your base for each hair. So for me, like looking from this angle, this kind of like shape, it does look a bit weird and it's wonky. So I do want to change this part. Do something like this. And you do it for every angle that you can see. And then you'll get the initial shapes and then you'll add the supporting shapes afterwards. Always the supporting shapes will sometimes mess up the initial shapes, so you gotta like focus on the main shapes first and then think about the support shapes afterwards, because if you don't really have the initial shapes, it's gonna mess up your initial like shape that you are like targeting towards. Hey. What time is it in Brazil? Just wondering. Is it your peak time? If it's like lunchtime? Evening? Nighttime, huh? Thought it was more close to LA time, but I was wrong. Oh. That's pretty much close to sleeping. I need to think about the rocks as well, and I need to think about the boots. There's so much things to think about, like I don't usually sculpt rocks, so sometimes it's hard for me to get the shapes correct. Yeah, H-polish is really nice for like getting hard surfaces, and also there is a couple of like brushes I do recommend when getting the shapes. One of them is /2 or flatten. Like I usually recommend using like flat lines for getting these kind of like flat interactions. Or you can use flatten B, which is I don't need RGBs, which will do this kind of like shape. Also, Alt key works wonders as well. And then also I can use thick skins for a couple of like strokes for like finishing touches. Oh, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with this, but you can use surface noise as a brush as well. And if you go to like noise plugs, and then if you enable granite, and for example change the noise scale to 0, and then put the scale to something like this, and then don't mix basic noise, and then if you add a bit more strength to it, you could do something like this. You can use it for RGB paints as well. So if I want some darker tone, oh, is it flying? Wait, oh, color blend, black, color blend. RGB. Yeah, so you can do something like this as well. Like you can add sculpts, you can add colors, and then you can tweak these settings as well. Like you can make it big, you can make it small. Then you can also tweak the parameters of the curve like this. Let me just remove the color blend. And then you can also add additional noise. So basic noise, and then tweaking the basic noise scale like this. Then it's gonna like get the details of the like sand and granite. Where are the Mantis blades? It's right here. I haven't really finished it, it's just a rough model, but yeah. Yeah, sometimes like surface noise is really nice for like having it as a brush. So if you guys are not familiar with this, I'd recommend playing it around. And you can also save it as a brush as well. So if you like the settings and then if you want to keep it, you can just save the brush, store the setting, and then you're done. You can also assign like custom alphas as well. So it's basically the same as surface noise, but you can apply it with the brush. So that's the difference. But I usually recommend it with like using it with this noise plugs because it's not really reliant on UVs, and you can't use UVs on this brush surface noise as far as I'm aware. And then if I want to have more crunchiness, I can tweak the settings, edit. And then if I want some erosions, Berlin noise. Ah, Berlin noise looks nice. Huh. Whoa. Yeah, so you can use multiple noise settings to get what you want. Now it looks like an ice cream, like I'm hungry. And then you can also tweak the value of the intensity, so you're not gonna do too much. And get those crunchiness. It does look like an ice cream, like, I wonder why. I think it's the shadows and the colors. And then not all the surface has some like rocks, so I'm gonna smooth out a couple of stuff. I might have missed it, but
did you UV map using before the surface noise?
No, I didn't use the surface noise. I used the brush version of surface noise. So if you go to brush, and then if you go to surface, you have the button to not have noise, and then you can press edit. And then it's using the noise plugs. And I'm not applying any UVs on this model, so I can apply a couple of things, like more speckle stones. Huh. Then I can tweak the scales for each noise. And then use that setting as a brush. So if I want some setting like this happening on the brush, I can just use that partially. So I don't really need to go into like masking and then switching to like surface noise to get a certain like area to be using that as kind of like surface detail. Like I can just use the brush and then sculpt it. And then I just need to like use some parts to have specific noises, and some parts to have absolutely no like sand, granite details. Like I can just polish them or like use trim dynamics to get the details. Cut away like this. So usually if the like rain hits and then your stone, your pet stone gets like curved down or like shaved off, then it's usually these kind of like areas which gets like affected by the rain. Oh, talking about rains, if it's like set on a cyberpunk world, it might be better to have like acid rains, like corporation not caring about like the environment, and then the acid rain falls down, and then these kind of like rocks get really polished in a way, and then those like areas which is hidden, which is the shadow of the stones, might be not affected too much by the rain, so you can consider those kind of like details as well. I'm not really good with stones, but like I know a couple things. You can use these kind of like techniques to like cheat your way through if you're not really familiar with stones. I'm not a rock expert, so. Do you have a 3D printer or do you send it to print? I have a Form 2 in my house. Over there, over there. So I'm not gonna move this like camera because my room is messy, but yeah, I do have a Form 2 and I have Zortrax M200, which is a FDM type printer. I use it a lot because like I'm printing figurines. Let me turn off the poly paint and see what's happening. And then if I want to have some more crunchiness, I would like to use some I think it was mallet. It was mallet inside. Where was it? I think it was music. No. Flatten. No. Oh, this one. Yeah, mallet. Mallet fast. Mallet fast will use the like canvas depth information, and then we'll like try to flatten the like surface detail according to that like depth information. So if you rotate it and then like move it around in a different way, it's gonna like take away some part of the mesh differently. So you can use this to create some like random things as well. And I usually do like short strokes like this. So it feels more like a oil painting, kind of like scraping happening. Yep, so if you go to brush and then if you go to mallet, there's the brush setting for this one. And what I did for Noisemaker was just using the standard brush and then tweaking the brush. Then if you go to surface, you were able to enable noise, and then you can switch to edit and tweak the settings from there. Yeah, I don't really make environments, so I think more people doing like more environmental stuff will be more expert in these kind of like fields, I guess, but I don't know. Some people don't know these kind of like gems in ZBrush, so if you have a friend who's doing environments, like show these techniques, and sometimes it might blow people's heads. So. Now it's not looking like a ice cream. I guess it's more crunchy bars compared to ice creams. What you will be working on after you finish this model? I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I think a lot of like 3D artists will be like concentrated around like New York area or LA area in US. I don't know if it's for other countries, but In Japan, it's really like centered around Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto, Nagoya, Fukuoka, those kind of like populated areas. But other than that, I don't see much people actively posting things 3D related on other areas. Like other area, they usually want to seek more information, and they go to like Tokyo specifically to get those kind of like informations. So another good reason to go to ZBrush Central to collect more information related to these kind of like stuff. This one. So if you go to Discord, if you look at the slides, which is changing in like in intervals, and then if you look at the Discord link, you can head to Discord, and if you want to ask any questions related to the techniques I showed today or in the past, you can ask me directly there as well. I'm usually around, so if you just at me and then like ask any questions if you want. But like usually I can't really answer any like support related questions. So if you're having issues, it's better to go to support directly instead of asking me or asking the people on Discord. It's hard to do support when you're getting like a couple of people asking you things at the same time. Like it's hard to isolate the issues and speculate what's going on. So yeah. Yeah, internet is really nice recently. Well, sometimes. Yeah, like I'm pretty much locked down in my house, but like I'm able to get so much information from the internet and like be able to like feel you're connected at the same time. I don't know what I would do without the internet, so okay, let me get some ambient occlusion. So if I go to Z plugins, and then if I go to ambient occlusion, and then get some compute, and usually default is fine. More and more in the toy industry, it's almost as important to know environment stuff for bases. Yeah, like I see a lot of like environment stuff or effects happening on figurines recently. Okay, so you can see like if I switch to flat colors, this is what I get for ambient occlusion. So you can use this kind of like stuff to like change the colors and get some juicy coloring happening like this. And then on the right side, I can apply some highlights in some areas by using a bit more like alpha, like this, so it looks more rocky in some places. yeah, like small, like detailed items are usually helpful for establishing a character and scenarios and what kind of like environment she or he was like experiencing and stuff. So those are handy, yeah. Yeah, these kind of like marbling, well, small dots happening on the rock is pretty nice to see. You can always tweak the noise to get some more different kind of like shades. Speckled stone, spiral, paranoia, turbulence, leaves. Oh, you can also use wood as well, so you can get these kind of like crazy shapes as well. And then you can like tweak these kind of like structures to like be on a certain angle like this, and then like look at it from the side and then apply it like this. Let me tweak these settings like this. How cool is this? Like, it's cool, right? So this would be handy for like making rocks, making like words, making some like rusty textures on your model, or like adding some like bumps and small details everywhere. And especially if you don't really want the entire like noise on the entire mesh, if you just want it like locally or like in just individual spots, then this will be really handy. And this isn't really new, so like I don't know why people are not talking about this so often. Yeah, like people, I think people would love this feature. Oh, additionally, there is couple of like smooth features. So if you go to brush, and then if you go to smooth, smooth, yeah, and then if you go to the smooth valleys, smooth peaks, you can also use these. So if you use smooth peaks,
what it does is it will replace these smooth peaks, and then would smooth out only the area which is peaking. So it will do this. So if you turn the intensity slider a bit more down, it's gonna be like doing these kind of like shapes. So if you don't really need these kind of like intenseness on your like scales or layers, and then you can also just use this smooth peak or smooth valleys to like remove or like smooth out the parts you don't really want to be so strong, which will be really handy if you have these kind of like areas which is sat on really often or rained on pretty often. And I can do rocks all day, but like I think I should pretty much stop my stream here, and I don't know who's next, but hand it over to the other person. Google Calendar. Let me see. Yeah, so we have Oscar to Joe in 3 hours, so yeah, I think I'll stop my stream here. Sorry if I pronounced the name incorrectly, or it's hard. Sorry. Yeah, it's fun to just like be able to sculpt rocks and like show you a couple of tips and tricks that I know of. Stream Dynamics is my like go-to brush as well. Like it's so nice to just play around with this brush. Yeah, this is my like one of my like favorite things to show off when people are like making environments and stuff. Like yeah, I had the object that I didn't really get to finish or like get to sculpt in a while, so. Also, usually if you are making rocks, like it's better to like mix a couple of like dirt color, so like brown, not just gray. So for example, turn off the noise and then just adding a bit more light tone, because you're gonna have a mix of mud and like dirt anyways, with the rain, with the wind, and depending on the terrain, this kind of like stuff included in the stone will change accordingly as well. So this kind of like color is pretty handy for like making the rock look realistic as well. Like I want to have this like rock look a bit chalky, chalk kind of like rock. So I'm gonna add a bit more like brown and light gray to it. But yeah, I think it's enough for now. So yeah, see you guys next week. So see you guys next stream. Bye.